Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox from the original to the Series X. And today we are talking about Black, a late original Xbox game released in North America February 28th, 2006 on PS2 and Xbox. Today we are playing it on the Series X, which Black is backwards compatible on. It was published by Electronic Arts and developed by Criterion Games, the team that delivered the Burnout racing franchise at this time. Black is a first-person shooter involving Black Ops operative Jack Keller in a slew of various missions. Yet upon previewing and press releases for Black at the time, the focus wasn't entirely on the story. This game was built all around its guns. During a preview for Eurogamer, developers said things like, "You should be able to have fun with a gun in an empty room," meaning the gun is the star. It's also notable that they planned on Black doing for first-person shooters what their own Burnout franchise did for the racing genre, meaning they wanted to create a visceral, action-fueled, and genre-defining style with this game. I remember this game's build-up, and being an Xbox gamer at the time, I loved first-person shooters, which this console had so many of. Black did stand out with a lot of its bold claims. I remember reading gaming magazines at the time touting this as a cinematic experience full of explosions where anything could be destroyed and guns would wreak havoc. This got me excited for this launch, and I did rent it and played it for a weekend, and I remember enjoying it. Black is a game I've wanted to revisit for a while, and I was excited to hop into this one 17 years later. Upon loading up the game, you are greeted with a long opening credits scene. It's a simple black screen with simple white text over it. An excellent theme plays over this, composed by Chris Tilton and Oscar winner Michael Giacchino. Directly upon loading the game up, this game screams cinematic. With live action cutscenes playing as well, Criterion wanted to prove the point that they were making a game that would display an action movie in video game form. As far as looks go, this game delivers that on the Xbox. I do think it was an interesting choice, though, to drop this game right at the end of its generation. For a game that Criterion wanted to set up as being genre-defining, why not start it off with a release on the 360, which had just launched in 2005? Or why not wait for the PS3 release later in 2006 so it could be on both consoles? I believe a lot of factors went into it, like maybe a longer development cycle, but I'll be honest, I think it was a solid decision choice. With how stunning the game looks on the original Xbox, it became a standout game for the console graphically at the end of this console's lifespan. Everything is really high fidelity in Black, running at 480p on the original Xbox hardware. Draw distances look great, and levels are a lot of grays, but I can tell that they did a good job with a lot of the details. The main thing that draws your eyes is, of course, the guns. With an arsenal of weapons at your disposal, you're going to have to blow away all of the enemies. Each gun is highly detailed and looks great while shooting it. Firing a ton of bullets surrounding enemies leaves destruction behind. Bullet holes permeate the walls and environments destroy around you. The destruction is a huge centerpiece of this game, and it's amazing to see on the Xbox. It seriously feels like everything can be destroyed. Throwing grenades into windows not only breaks the windows upon entry, but wrecks the building from the inside. Cars can be damaged down to their tires, and buildings chip away with damage. It's a beauty to see, and it's obvious Criterion wanted to make this game great looking, and they achieved that. With destruction comes a fun, high-octane game. Shooting enemies feels great, and I really love the crosshair system where it changes color based on what you're pointing at to tell you if it's destructible, an enemy, or if you might not get anything out of shooting this particular object. The feeling you get from exacting chaos on these destructible arenas is satisfying. I even found a lot of the level design to be really good and offer a lot of areas that are set up to be destructible. In particular, I love the warehouse level in this game. It has high ceilings filled with glass windows. The clash of windows and the effect of glass falling is stunning and satisfying. I love the amount of elevation which a lot of levels use, where giant smokestacks sit above you, and as you climb them, you have to shoot at enemies below and above you, and enemies constantly flow at you. This game is a challenging one. On easy, you might complete this in 6 hours, but on harder difficulties, you have to explore the levels in order to complete side objectives, and it adds a lot more depth to the levels. I will say the replay value wasn't all too strong here though. After beating it in 6 hours, I ultimately had no desire to go back to it. The levels were great the first time around, but after beating it and running through a few levels for the review, they lost a little bit of their charm. Add on that the story here is completely uninteresting. Cutscenes are poorly filmed live-action sequences with audio over them. Any other story is delivered via the game radio chatter, and honestly, it does not mix well with the loud cacophony of the guns, and you end up feeling confused by the story as a whole. None of it feels connected, and it makes the game not work as a whole. In previews for the game, it seemed as if they were reluctant to reveal the story, and I think that's because maybe it was something fleshed out late in the process. I will say though that this only is a slight point against this game, because as a whole, it's about the sweet gun action, and you get that with this experience. The sound also adds a feeling of viscera that this game wants to deliver to you. If possible, play this game with headphones on, because the attention to detail in the sound effects is impeccable. Guns are loud and booming. Enemies far away shooting almost play at different tones to create a choir of gun noises, which is something intentionally done by the game designers. Footsteps crunch and glass breaks, explosions work almost like drums in the background. The sound of the battlefield here is intense, and being in the middle of it is incredible. Truly one of the best designed games on Xbox in terms of sound, and it's worth listening to. I still think this game works now as a fun first-person shooter diversion. It's really simple, but worth a good run through just to experience it one time. Even with a weak story, the sound design and gunplay are extremely well done, and it's a good time on Xbox. Graphically, it's impressive as well, and the dark variety of levels are fun to explore. I recommend this game as a playthrough once, so if rentals were still a thing, it would make for a very good rental. According to publications at the time, this game received a favorable amount of reviews. Some really loved it, and others thought it was pretty good, but just needed a little bit more. According to official Xbox magazine, upon reviewing Black, they gave it a 7 out of 10, citing it was a fun shooter with a messy story, which I can agree with that. They did complain really hard about the lack of multiplayer though. I think for me, it's not as big of a deal in 2023, as most games aren't going to be active if you're a retro gamer, but with projects like Insignia, it's a little more usable, but it's not going to be a part of everybody's playthrough. But I do understand being frustrated at the time, especially when this would have been an extremely fun online game. But overall, it's a great time, and I recommend you check it out. So to finish off this review, on my original Xbox ranking list, Black reaches at number 20. I put it above The Hobbit because Black was a lot more fun, and I put it below Jedi Starfighter because I think Starfighter had a stronger replay value to it. And this wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment if you've played this back in the day or if you're just interested in it. I'd love to hear from you. But I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.